Hi, it's Dr. Doug Curtis.
And Lucy Curtis from Dyslexic and Unstoppable. Our mission is to help dyslexics rediscover their inner power.
That's right, and welcome to our first webinar of the summer. This one, as you can see, it's entitled The 5 Most Important Steps You Need to Take to Help Your Struggling Reader. And it kind of comes from our experience in helping our son back when he's now going into high school, right? But it's from helping him when he was back in kindergarten, first grade, back in the times when he was really struggling with reading and everything like that. And it's the ways that we helped integrate learning and reading and everything into the summer, because kids look at the summer is fun. Summer's time to have fun, right? Um, so I'm going to keep the this thing on the right here, there, and keep the slides small just so I can see if anyone has any questions. If you do, you can type them in the chat there and I'll be able to see them. So again, we're Doug and Lucy Curtis. These are some of the books that we've written on various subjects and helping kids with reading and that kind of stuff. We are going to have a little contest. If you want to tweet Summer Reader, hashtag Summer Reader. We're going to pick somebody. We'll pick tomorrow morning somebody who's tweeted the most, and we'll give away one of our courses to that person. So we're going to do this kind of backwards, starting with the fifth step. So the fifth step is called the power of words. And what do we mean by the power of words?
Well, how we approach everything means everything to our children, right? So the way if we're talking about having difficulties with reading, if we make it as a big obstacle and an issue, then they will also look at it as an obstacle and an issue. But if we can approach it in a different way of how we're going to utilize this summer to help you get to where you need to be able to function really well when the school starts again, then it empowers them to be willing to do the extra work.
Yeah, I think that was big for us because we had our son who had the reading issues, and our daughter who clearly did not, because by 3 she was reading like big books already. So we had the two things, and he would say to us, well, why do I have to do all this work and Cookie doesn't? And one of the things that we did is try to use the power of words to help him see his other assets, the things that he is good at. He's got a really strong science and engineering type brain. He's always inventing things. Even back then, he was doing engineering books and that kind of stuff, where he was making all these inventions and things like that. And so by reframing it, we were able to help him see, okay, this is just something I'm gonna do. It's gonna help me, and it's not like a thing I have to do, but it's something that's going to help me out, something that'll make my life easier down the road. So I think that really helped, right?
Yep.
So the fourth big step is what we call fixing the right problem, and this is all about finding the real problem that your child is facing, right? Sometimes parents sometimes parents will come into my office. I'm a pediatrician, and sometimes parents will come to my office and they'll complain about their child having trouble paying attention, right? And so if your focus is on your child paying attention and sitting still and that kind of thing, you may not realize that maybe there's an underlying learning issue. Maybe there's an underlying reading issue. Maybe there's some of the other things, and we'll talk about some of this here. That you need to figure out what's the actual thing, so you're fixing the problem that really happens, right? So what are some of the problems that may lead to a reading issue?
Well, it could be a developmental issue, right? That your child is actually not ready to move on to the next step. So maybe the summer, you spend the summer working on it and reevaluating at the end of the year and see if maturely,
right.
Like our son was a December baby, and we had all of it. We had the December baby, a little boy, and then he was struggling with reading. So,
right.
they were like, oh, let's hold him back. But if we're not looking at the underlying reason why we want to hold that child back, then we can be spending a whole new year in the same class not looking at the right problem. So that was our biggest thing, is like, well, he's really motivated to be in school. He loves school and he's eager to go. So let's figure out first what the underlying issue is, right? So is it when they look at the word, they can't read it? Right. Is it they can read the word but they don't know what it means? Mm-hmm. Is it a spelling? Like is it a like you talk about as a pediatrician?
Right. One thing is we worry about is, could it be a vision or a hearing issue? I mean, sometimes language development requires, hearing. And so a child may have a mild hearing issue, and that may be the problem with why he's, having trouble with his language and therefore with his reading. The other thing is sometimes it can be a matter of them, matching them with the right book. What we mean by this is, and we ran into this a little bit because our son, because of his interest in science, he wanted to read these big, complex books. And sometimes you need to, help them, kind of steer them towards the right book. What's the right book for your level of reading that's going to keep you motivated, keep you happy, keep you,
And but we also had this issue with him because he struggled with the reading, and it was hard to bring him to the more appropriate books. Yeah. What we had to do is work together to help him because he really wanted. So there was like this other level that we had to fix also, but really addressing, if it's a developmental thing, if it's a physical thing like a hearing or vision, or that's really important. That's why we do all these exams at the pediatrician at that age to make sure that there's not and they do things at school to screenings at school just to make sure that, because that could be somebody needs glasses, somebody needs help with the hearing, somebody there's all these little things that could be that it's not really necessarily a reading per se issue.
Right. I actually have a patient. He's now probably around 10ish or so. But I remember when he was a toddler, his speech wasn't developing, and he was acting out, and the parents, were worried about autism or whatever. And it turned out he was just profoundly deaf, and he actually got cochlear implants, and now he's a 10-year-old and he's thriving. He's doing great. So that's a really important part of it. The next thing is timing is everything. But what we mean with this is you need to kind of step back and take a look at your child. How does your child learn? When is the best time? For some kids, it's let's get up, let's get it done first thing in the morning, and get it over so we can enjoy the day. Some kids, no, they need to get out and run and burn off the energy first, and then they work better in the afternoon. Another thing that we did with our son was setting a specific amount of time, right? That was a big one with him, right?
Right. Well, if like everybody else, even as an adult, you want to know when something starts and when something ends. And if you're spending the whole summer, you have to put yourself in their shoes and think, okay, my child has to do extra homework, so they're already stressed out about that. So how can I make it as less stressful as possible for them? If they know that we say, okay, we're going to do this 4 days a week, we're going to spend 30 minutes a day, or we're going to do, 5 pages of reading, whatever the limit is. We did that with our son and kept that limit, so that the child is not like, well, let's do another page today, or let's do another 5 minutes, let's do this, or cram an hour instead of doing 5 minutes. I remember for like the spelling, it was better to do 5 minutes every day, like divide the number. Okay, let's say there was 10 words, work on 3 a day and all that stuff, and have it specific so that your child says, okay, I've done my 30 minutes, we're done. I've done my 5 words, I'm done. They know that there's like when they don't know when it's going to end.
It feels like it's endless, right?
It's endless, and they get discouraged. Yeah, that's definitely all about.
Yeah. And that's and that's a big part of the theme that runs through this is maintaining their self-esteem and that feeling of like we say, being unstoppable, that feeling that they can do it, right? And one way to do that is to say, yes, you're going to work hard. Yes, we're going to have to do these extra things, but it's this set time. And then the last point on this slide says 1 day off completely to do whatever they want.
Yes, that was Sunday, right?
That was a big one for us. So, and you have to honor it, right? You have to say, it's Sunday. He wants to go play Legos for the entire day. That's it. He gets to go play Legos for the entire day. Or, some kids is more athletic. They want to get out and throw a ball or run around or whatever. And that's fine. That's what they get to do. That day is theirs to do what they want. And they need that to recharge and those kinds of things. So.
And as adults, we need that too, right?
Yeah.
We need that time to just be.
Right.
And do whatever we want to do. So they need the same thing, especially when they're working so hard.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Step 2, accommodations. So this is not accommodations that you'd get in school. These are the things that you're going to do to help your child get through things. Sometimes there's a required reading for the summer. Some schools, some grades, it's just, read 3 books or whatever, 4 books, 5 books, whatever they say. Some are, no, you need to read this number of books, and one of them has to be this book by this author, right? So how do you help the child who's really struggling with reading and they're already exhausted, and maybe you've done these other exercises or taking them to classes and that kind of stuff. So how do you help them with...
So one of the things we did is like when we got to the point that we had to do a specific book, right? We would look online, especially Amazon or eBay, or you can buy it, used or whatever. A lot of times you could find, because it's a book that the teacher requires, it's available a lot. So there's the audiobook. So we would buy the audiobook and the regular book, and our son would read the book while listening to the audiobook. So we would get through that. And then there was also your part when you would do, when he was more younger and didn't have the audiobook.
Right. When he was really, really struggling, I would actually sit down with him and I would read 1 page and he would read one page. And, of course, this was a great bonding time. This was a time for us to spend time together and him to not feel like he was up against this alone. But the other thing I think both of these things do is, even if for an adult who enjoys reading, sometimes it takes a while to get into a book, right? Sometimes you feel like, oh my gosh, this story's kind of a little slow, and it takes a while to get into a book. But then once you're into it, you're like, wow, I can't wait to see what happens next, right? Well, if you're struggling with reading and it's been 3 days and you're only a couple pages into the book, you're never going to get into the story. So a lot of this is to help them recognize the story, kind of see the big picture of the story, and then from there they can say, oh, okay, now what's going to happen next to the character?
And keep the joy of learning and reading there.
Right.
So, and we've tried all these things, the sitting down and try to, okay, let's do this, and it's not working, and then over and over, and let's try to read this word, and it's like the frustration sets in. But if you can find a way to make progress and make it fun, then the learning will occur and the love of learning will stay, and they will be more willing to keep going.
Right. And that actually goes back to when he was in that period. We eventually enrolled him in a school that it was for kids with dyslexia, and it was a tutoring program, but the problem was they didn't have immediate space right away, right?
Right.
So I remember I speaking to the director, and she said, you know what, over the next month, whatever it was, please, no pressure on him. Don't try to make him read anything he doesn't want to. Just keep it enjoyable. Let him love books still. If that means you reading to him, if that means audiobooks, whatever, let him love books still, because that was the big thing, to keep his... Well, we always say to help them rediscover their inner power, right? And the way to do that is all kids are naturally curious. They want to learn things. They want to figure things out. They want to get into things and whatever. And so to keep that curiosity alive, you got to keep that love of learning alive. And so you have to make books a fun thing, right? And this is part of that. All right. And the last one is rewards, positive reinforcement. So how do rewards work in...
We still do rewards at our house. It is always about recognizing the effort that is put in the hard work and how difficult it is for a child who's dyslexic, who's probably like our son had dysgraphia, he had a speech issue, he had all these things that eventually he had to work on. And all that extra effort that he put in to help himself, because we're not the ones doing the work for them. They're the ones who have to do the work, and recognizing that. So obviously the easy one is, you have a chart and you say, if you've spent your 20 minutes reading that day, you get, $1 or whatever it is. That's an easy one. But we're not talking about just money. We're talking about, we've done numerous ones, and the ones that one of the ones they liked a lot, of course, everybody liked money, but we took little stickies and we wrote, watch a movie with us, the parents, having a sleepover, going to the movies, picking which restaurant we'll go out to dinner that night, picking what we're going to eat for dinner that night. All these little things. Spending time with me for an hour, you have to do whatever game I want you to do,
right?
And then you put it in a bowl, and it started that as a Easter thing instead of buying candy, and the kids loved it. So that when they show up and they say, today can I use my ticket, then you have to honor that, because they're like, okay, I've done all the work that I was supposed to. I've read for my week. Now I'm going to use that, right? And then
yeah, definitely. And it definitely worked. And like she was saying, it doesn't have to be monetary. I mean, one of the things kids crave from us the most is our time and attention, right? So like most of these little coupons that we gave them were more time with us, a game night, going out to dinner, for the last thing written here is a half hour of crafting. My daughter loves crafting. So for her, that's a major reward. Sit down with me, mama, and let's, do some crafting or coloring or whatever it is. But the point is, to use rewards, because we all function better with rewards rather than negative reinforcement. And I think that's especially true for the child who's struggling in school. They're already, hearing, or maybe they don't actually hear it, but they're sensing from people that they're not very good at this or they're not very good at that. And so they don't need somebody else to say, you're not trying hard enough, or, you need to work harder, or whatever. They need somebody to say, wow, I recognize your effort. Maybe this test didn't work out exactly the way we wanted it, but I recognize your hard effort in your whatever. And I think that really brings that out in them.
Well, for me, it always brings out, anytime there was any question along the way when he was on his journey with the reading issues or the speech or something, and somebody would try to bring in, let's do like a forceful thing or a negative reinforcement. I knew my child, and I was like, he doesn't respond well to that. So I totally always refused it, because I always want him to be able to come to me. If I'm not a safe place anymore,
that's a big thing.
Where does he go? Right? If he doesn't feel that I have his back, that he can come to me when there's a struggle, because I'm part of the struggle now, that I'm making him all stressed out and not using my words to empower him. Where does he go? Where does he or she go? But for us it was he, but where does he go? And to me, that was the most important thing. And even today, anything, that's the kids know that they can come to us no matter what it is, because it's a safe place to be.
Yeah, that's a big thing, because there are going to be challenges down the road. There may be, even once they overcome the reading issue, there may be issues that they have. They may have a bad test or whatever. They need to know that they can come to you, and then you're going to help them get through it. They're going to get to be teenagers, and maybe there's going to be other issues, behavioral things or whatever. But they need to know that they can come to you, and that, yes, you may be upset, but you're going to help them get through it. And I think knowing that you're their rock, you're the place where they can really trust, that really helps. And the last thing I think with positive reinforcement is, these are some of our suggestions here on the slide, but use what your child likes, because it really, for example, some kids love sports, but saying to our son, let's go out and throw a ball for half an hour, he would be like, that would be more of a punishment almost, right? So find what he loves, let's play Legos together for an hour. Let's go to a science museum or something like that. He would be, yes, let's do that. That's the kind of thing. So best way to do it is talk to your child, figure out what he or she really loves.
Or for me, I say this all the time. When there's a quiet time and your child can do whatever he wants or she wants, what are they doing?
Right.
That is what their passion is.
Right.
And reward that.
Right.
Find, what is it that is associated with that you can do to give them that boost of energy or in self-esteem,
right,
so that you use that in a positive way.
Right. So, so what's next? Where do you go from here? What should be your next step? Well, one thing we'd like to talk to you about is we have a course on our website. It's called the Survival Guide for Parents of Smart Kids Struggling in Elementary School, and it's for kids who are struggling in school, and you know your child's smart. You know that there's something going on. You don't understand why it is, and it's difficult sometimes to realize that some of these seemingly unrelated things, such as reading and then fine motor stuff like buttoning and tying shoes, remembering facts, math facts and spelling and that kind of stuff, or maybe even sitting still and paying attention, may all be related. So we put together this video course, and like all of our courses, it's videos, because we know parents are busy. We all have so much on our plates already, and one thing we don't want to do is we don't want to be faced with a book or an ebook that's 50 pages long that you've got to read through. So all of these things that we do are videos, right? And so the topics we cover in it, we go through reading and different ways kids learn reading, symptoms associated with reading, then writing and spelling, and then some of the other things that you may not connect with a learning issue, such as speech or organization, fine motor skills, even visual spatial things. That was a big thing for our son. He was a bit of a bull in a china shop sometimes. He didn't kind of know where he was in his space, when he was younger. So and then social, emotional, and then my favorite part is the strengths and gifts module of that course. So that's on our website. We regularly sell it for $27, but because I think I really want as many parents to be able to, as we always say, connect the dots, to figure out how all these seemingly unrelated things may be related, and to get the right help, like we talked about at the beginning. We're going to have a special for the next 24 hours. You just go, this is the actual link here. It's kind of long, but if you just go to Dyslexic and Unstoppable, you'll see a tab. It says, I'll show it to you. It says dyslexia help. That's not it. Hold on one second. I'm sorry. Here it is. Dyslexic and Unstoppable. So help for dyslexia. And you'll see down here the survival guide. So you just go there. It gives you some more information of exactly what is with the survival guide, etc. But more importantly, if you enter the coupon code Summer Reader, the same as our tweet there, it'll be just $9.99. All right. So think about it. And right now, we'd like to open it up if anybody had any questions. So if you do, you can type them in the chat. Let me see if I can open up the chat. If not, the one thing we'd like to do also is to remind you to please connect with us. Dyslexic and Unstoppable is our website. There's lots of videos there. We're weekly putting out at least a couple of videos a week with all the tools and stuff that have helped us, the little strategies, the little tidbits, whatever that we've learned along the way. And of course, all our courses and tools and strategies are there for purchase. Lucy does a daily dose of soul food, basically motivation to help keep you, because we know this journey can be a difficult one at times. And then, of course, come to our Facebook group. It's Facebook.com/Dyslexic Unstoppable. Join our Facebook there, ask questions, join the community, and that kind of stuff. And if you need more one-on-one attention, info@Dyslexic and Unstoppable. that'll be a direct email to us, and you can ask us questions, or by all means suggest future webinars, anything that you want. All right.
The one thing I see is the question about the right reading classes, and so we do address that in the survival guide, because as we started, we had our child, and I get that a lot for parents, right? They're put in these classes that are either geared towards somebody who just needs to catch up in their grade level, but when we did that, it didn't help because our son had an issue with decoding words,
right,
and they didn't work on that. So he spent 2 months work at that class that didn't help him move forward. So that's why we do the seminar at this time of year, so that we have all the summer.
Right.
Because when we got him in the right class, in 2 months he went from kindergarten reading to second grade.
Right. Exactly.
But we talk about all these things, what classes are different reading classes and which ones are better.
Right, right, exactly. And I think it also goes to, when you find some help in your area, you may not always know right off the bat whether it is the right reading class for your child. But the big thing is to stay in contact with the school or the teacher there, and to assess your child and talk to your child, and figure out if you see progress, because a lot of times we get busy as parents. You put your kid in the class and you just assume things are moving along, and 5, 6, 7 months can go by and you don't realize, wait, we haven't really made any progress. But if you're staying on top of it, and you're talking to the teacher and talking to your child and watching how he or she is progressing, then you can see, what, this isn't working, what else is available. The other thing is, if you come to our Facebook group, I don't. We're from the Connecticut area, so we don't know every single program out there. But if you type in a thing, we'd be happy to do a little research for you, and check into it, and see where the strengths of that program are, and where the issues are, and that kind of stuff. So, all right. Hope that answers your questions. All right. Well, if everybody doesn't have any more questions, thank you so much for joining us. And by all means, like I said, visit Dyslexic and Unstoppable.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.